Lumoria Loretaster, Episode 4, Illuminating Recollections, Part 2. Entry the 12th, 2:57 AC, second shard, 91st, turning. I must apologize for my lack of presence in documentation, for Domi has quite surprised me with a rather poignant attention that required action. We are excited to celebrate this mid-year's turning together. In short, we were wed, and I can hardly remember a happier time. As for the work, Chronosa has continued to benefit from our designs over these last several years. Though it requires replacing each shard, we have maintained the use of Illumin most efficaciously for timekeeping with the clock tower. Our latest focus has been about finding ease of transport and fitting, as well as the ever-vexing problem of reducing its size. Still, I remain hopeful. Domi will probably crack the problem before long. She has great theories regarding a spheroid design, though I might still harbor a few secret reservations. Funding has proven quite a difficult challenge after our marriage. After Uncle Caramane's death, the Glints, I believe, hoped I would accept the honor of their daughter to join our families. It's dross, though. Things are far better this way. If nothing else, the other great families would fall into collective apoplexy if one of their number gained the sole mastery of our ever-advancing work. I am sure we will overcome this obstacle in time. Entry the 13th, 278 AC, third shard, second turning. Well, it took far longer and far more expense in coin and in favor, but we have secured stable funding with the Glints once more. Overcoming this grating and irritating stumble has been akin to finally removing a hidden grit from smooth clay. Things should now proceed apace again. In fact, the agreement pact coincided with completion of the first sphere lumen. This seems to have quite a few advantages over the dome-like shape regarding output, though its fittings and costs leave something to be desired at the moment given its current state and size. Entry the 14th, 288 AC, 4th shard, 55th turning. Alas, the exterior world seems to be thwarting our otherwise excellent momentum. We had been seeing such fantastic improvements upon our sphere designs. Our latest prototype seems to be quite promising for reducing size. But we are halted. Both reaches ready for war. The folk of the Shaded Reach speak of mistreatment, and those here in the Radiant speak of justice against the darkness. I must admit, the distractions of such allegiances seem queer to me. My experience with Domi has taught me well enough that origin and blood are far secondary to what one creates with one's life. Domi has been quite restless about our research as the Reaches ready for civil war. She worries greatly for how Solni and the Radiant Reach will eventually consider using the Lumen's research for weapon development. It is far too costly for that, I reassured her, and so long as we remain the masters of this project, we can steer it to better tides. Either way, it is a frustrating waste to turn our attention to wartime expenses and loss of life over this needless squabble. Entry the 15th, 291 AC, 3rd shard, 29th turning. After such grand and wasteful devastation this war has wrought upon us, there is at least chance for innovation. In many ways, technology and innovation are the opposite of war. They solve problems without raising armies, after all. The sack of the Mirror Forge was a truly disastrous event, but with so many hands ready for it to be operative once more, Domi was rightly named Forge Master and Overseer of the repairs. Along with this clearly correct decision, a most fortuitous development on Telwyn mirror glass has been achieved, with the help of some rather crusty bearded dwarf I shall keep unnamed for now. This has been done specifically with the lumen in mind and a higher focus on heat tolerance. Such a development will allow for greater and safer storage in the lumen. On a similar note, the clever use of these mirrors has allowed the forge to properly earn its name. No clumsy coal or fueled flame shall be necessary for our greatest forge heats. Oh, I think not. The perfectly angled great mirrors allow for a heavily concentrated beam of soul's fire to be our direct fuel. It is this last development, I think, that shall allow the lumen to take the shape it was meant to have. Entry the 16th, 300 AC, 4th shard, 47th turning. It is with stone-weeping sadness that I write today. There will be no more work on the lumen. I cannot bear to work upon that project without her. It is too much a labor of memory. And now I feel I am working with but a single hand. The dry death took her as she traveled north to visit far-flung family. It spread farther and worse than any of us might have imagined. What a horrible way to die, all the liquids within stripped away, leaving crackled husks in the malady's wake. They named me Forge Master today. A hollow glory. I don't want it. You are the master, Domi. Domi, you will be missed. Your work and mine were without peer. You came from so little and produced so much. You were not some short thing, but a titan of craft that Faraday himself would be hard-pressed to match. 351 AC, second shard, 73rd turning. Despite my oath to the contrary, I have resumed our project, Domi. I hope you will approve. You always feared it could be misused, and so I return to prevent that very outcome. The Iluvinet family has purchased great swaths of land and materials for construction. They hope to design light farms for harvesting in great quantity Sol's light and putting it to myriad use. You were right, of course. The sphere was the way forward. Your latest design is roughly the size of a melon, or my own very large head. We seem to have run up against the physical limitations of this design at a year's worth of glow. There is work and theory about finding efficient ways to refill lumens rather than craft new ones. I bet you would have liked this idea. We even have returned to the original great domes for the farms, a far more efficient way to attempt these refillings. So far, it has been a dangerous process. I could use your mind. You were always quicker on the calculations, and more inspired with great thoughts than I. Verity's Forge Fire. I miss that gnome.